Doodlebud here. I'm a little extra excited to do this review for you today because just now, before starting it, I got coaching from a Japanese teacher. So she's Japanese and she teaches Japanese on how to properly say the name for this pen. So let's just kick it off. This was sent to me by Pen Venture, by the way. Now, most reviews, they will say Kyuseido Kakari. And I didn't know how to say the name. It's Japanese. And I checked other reviews really quickly, and that's how everyone says it. But I know that's not the proper Japanese way. In Japan, they would not say Kyuseido. So I got coached, and I will now do my best attempt. Kyuseido. I also had her say it, so let's hear the proper pronunciation.
Kyuseido.
And the translation to English for the characters is 9 stars hall. Anyways, so that's a little extra bonus detail for today. So this was sent to me, like I said, by Pen Venture. This is the Gravitas Kyuseido. I didn't ask for Kakari. I know it's not Kakari, so I'll say Kakari. I think that might be it. Anyways, this is the pen that was sent to me. Comes in this lovely wooden box. Just the level of detail and craftsmanship on this particular pen is, I'm going to go into it for you and see it. But there's a lot of effort that went into this pen. And this is like a big time kind of premier pen that Gravitas is offering. They have this lovely cloth to keep it all polished and shined up. Like that's a really nice little detail. So yeah, great packaging, very simple, traditional type of Japanese style there too. So it was a joint project with Gravitas and Kyuseido. And this is the pen model here. Again, Kakari or Kakari. I don't know. I'm done with that part now. Lovely pen. So this premium stuff we got going on. We got titanium in the cap and the section and the piston knob. We have stainless steel for this piston pump special filling system. We're going to show you how that looks. It's inked up right now, so I'll write with it, but I'll clean it all out, show you all those bits as well. So stainless steel on those internals. It has this piston that can engage and disengage like you've seen in some other pens, say Conid. I know I did the 5040 as well on the Titan, similar type of thing. So piston that slides up and down that you can engage and disengage. And then we got a number 6 gold nib that's on here as well. You can see the stamping. So this is really like the premier type of flagship pen available at Gravitas, and it's really nice. We also got Delrin in here. So titanium threads onto titanium threads, there's nothing wrong with it. I have pens that do that. But then we're going on to acrylic here. So you got to be just a little bit mindful of if it was straight titanium onto acrylic. It could gall that up over time. So we don't do that. We got a Delrin liner on the inside. Delrin it's probably my favorite plastic. I remember the first time I machined a Delrin part, it was for a special jig that was going to be used on site by one of our customers. And we needed a knob on the stainless steel rod because they're going to be moving this thing up and down. And so the engineer gave me the drawing and told me to make it out of Delrin. I hadn't made anything out of Delrin before. I said, okay. I go, what's so special about that? And he says, you'll see. And so I made the part, machined it just beautifully, really nice knob, and I polished it up afterwards, and I took it off. I did it up in the lathe conventionally and just put it onto that stainless steel rod, and it was just the best feeling knob ever. And I went, oh, yeah, I can see why. Instead of just an aluminum one or something else, it was a Delrin knob. And what it does is it gives a very nice feel with threads, but it's also very strong plastic. It's great for machining, holds really good dimensions, and it's just a fantastic material. That's also done in the piston knob back here. I'll just be a little bit gentle, just because we got a pretty big fill. So we got stainless steel threads, and there's lots of pens that have, knobs at the back for, say, on vac fillers. Very, very common thing, right? Same type of idea. And you're always having to open and close that knob. And the threads can just chew up the plastic on the inside of that knob. And so we do have pore lighting, as you can see. But we have stainless steel going into plastic, but it's Delrin. And so it's a good thread profile. And Delrin is going to do just fine. So you get a nice little feel to it. And it's not going to be wearing out. It's just a fantastic plastic. It really is. Another great reason for that on this pen is just like any vac filler style pen, you have to back off the knob. So you can shut off the reservoir in the body from the upper and lower sections. So that helps with avoiding leaking, especially in heat. If you can get warm air expands and it can shoot ink out, but you can have the shutoff valve to prevent that from happening, or air pressure differentials when traveling. So you can shut off the upper reservoir to the lower. But the flip side of that is if you don't have this open, eventually you run out of ink. So what you have to do is open up the knob so you don't impede the flow of ink. Okay, problem solved. Well, a lot of times this rattles a bit. It's kind of loose. So here is a much less expensive pen. It's made very well, and it's got titanium and acrylic. And it's just the same. Well, no, like there's just little details. Okay, same. It's the different filling system, but same kind of thing. That's the difference. You can see the difference right there. You can remove the difference. Not only that is when you have it open, you got to have this open so you don't shut off the ink supply. It wiggles, it rattles, it moves. When you make it out of Delrin, there's this nice friction to it and it doesn't move. It stays put. You can turn it, but it just turns very nice and slow. So just little details like that. I don't really think it's designed to be, it does post, but there's a lot of meat in the cap. I'll get you the weights in a second. So the Delrin won't, I don't think it's going to scratch that titanium. So it can post. If you got to hold it pretty far back to not backweight the pen, but if you hold way up, some people do that. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's like really likes to hold it far back. It does post, but I don't think it's really super meant to be posted, but it's a decent size. If it was a little bit smaller, I might want to post it, but like this, I got a big hand. For me, it's sufficient. But again, for some folks, if you always post it might not be your favorite pen posted. I always talk about threads a lot, but they matter, especially on a pen, because you have to use them all the time. It's one thing if it's threads are on something where you snug it down and it's going to stay put for 15, 20 years. Whatever, as long as it holds, I don't really care how the thread feels. I want it to stay put. This is coming on and off all the time, so your threads have to be done well, and that's why I talk about it so much. It's a key feature. If you've got a threaded cap, you better have good threads, and nothing better gall up and stuff like that and wear out, and it better do a good job. So these are really nice. You can just, if I could get any kind of focus, let me change my background. Maybe that helps. I don't know what this camera wants. It changes its mind all the time. But you can just spin those threads on like that, and they just go on wonderfully. So that's great. And it also seals wonderfully. So one thing in the Gravitas design that he always does it. I don't see many other folks do it, but the answer's right here. It's this. So instead of having a square, so just a flat, it's conical. Okay, and there's conical on the inside. You got to get the machining done, right? It's harder to do that instead of a step. There's no way I can crank that up. Oh, there we go. Look at that. You can see the detail. So that's just not a flat. That's also conical to match here. And you might not think it's a big deal, but it's a big deal. Like this, because of that design choice, the pen seals extremely well. I'll show you when I flush the pen out on all that stuff. If I engage the piston and try to push the piston rod down, it'll shoot the rod back up because you cannot force the air out of here. That's how good the seal is. It's tough to get that without an O-ring. An O-ring does a great job. There's like the TWSBI Eco. They put an O-ring on here and you get a phenomenal seal. It's very easy to do it with an O-ring. But yeah, that conical seal is why it's just superior. It's better than having it a flat spot. For the size comparison, this is what I'm going with. I stress out sometimes on what pens I should use for the size comparison. So here we go. Pilot Custom 823. This is the Gravitas Ultimate Vac Kyuseido Kakari. There we go. The Lamy All-Star. Sometimes I say Safari. I mean to say All-Star if I say Safari. And this is an Asfine V126. And of course, here we are, uncapped. I have to say I was chatting with Ben Walsh at Gravitas when I was going through some of these pens that I received via Pen Venture. And one comment I said to him, I said, "You're very good at your pen dimensions, getting those right. It's a tough thing to do, to get the dimensions just right on all the different features in the design and all that stuff." But yeah, I just said that is something you have you've dialed in and honed, and your pen dimensions that you do, your big ones and your small ones, all that, they're very good. We have a Japanese pen. We're going to have to use some Japanese paper. One of my favorites is my Muji. As you can see, it is a mega wet writer. I am going to flush the pen out, show you the internals and all that stuff, and I'll try a different ink in here to see if that helps. But I did check it with a little shim, a 0.03 millimeter shim, and I'd say the tying gap is a little bit wider than my personal preference would be. Some people love a really wet writer. Again, I think it's a little bit of a property of the ink too, but just the tying gap seems a little bit wider than my personal preference, or most of the time I would, if I was tuning it. So that's the only comment I have there. I know this is the Gravitas version on the Pen Venture site. Again, they have tons and tons of details. I really encourage you to read those. The ones you buy directly, because it's a joint venture pen. So there is the Kyuseido, their own version you could buy from them. And they said that the nib sizes are, like if you bought a fine from them versus the Gravitas fine version, the Gravitas one writes larger. So the nib point sizes aren't identical between the two. Here is that sheen that is going on. I hope the camera's picking this up, but it's a lovely purple color there. But you can see, just look. Can you? Oh, you know what? I think the lighting's just right. You can see the sheen show that is going on there. So I hope, yeah. If you're looking for ink that does that kind of stuff, this is a really good ink. Don't think I mentioned it yet, but it is equipped with a Nico Ebonite feed. So overall, let's talk to you about my experience with the pen, because I'm going to get into some more technical things, but I understand not everyone is a total super engineer nerd like me. How does the damn thing write? What have you found with the pen as using it? So it performs great. The seal is fantastic. I'll show you that in a second. Everything as far as how the pen works and functions is fantastic. I have no knocks on that. One thing with Gravitas and this design, there's no clip on it. So for some folks, no clip, no deal. Would it be a better pen with a clip? Some folks would say yes, and others folks would say no, this is how it is. So I know his designs, none of his pens have clips. I don't know if they ever will, but there you go. For some folks, that's a deal breaker. I've used it a bunch. I've written with it as much as I can. I maybe haven't used it as much as I normally would. Like I try to use it more as an everyday for notes and stuff. It was a bit tricky, and the reason for that is it's really wet. At least this ink setup I have, but I think the tying gap out of the box for me was a little too juicy. This combo right now isn't set up for everyday driver for my style, but I've done a bunch of writing. I'll just sit down with a book and do all sorts of writing, and the writing experience is fantastic. It's a feather's touch. Like there's a little bit of a bounce out of the nib. But yeah, if you want the thin line, you have to go extremely soft with it. So it's a very delicate, soft nib. It's quite nice. Like I said, for my personal tastes, it's just too wet, but I'm going to dry it up. I'll bring that back exactly where I personally want it. And I'll show you the writing sample difference when we do that. Let's get into the filling system and other details. I took the liberty of cleaning out the pen so I can show you these things, and I'll show you how the pen fills up in just a moment. This is something I noticed with the pen when I first got it and was empty, is I drive this down. The seal is so good, right? No air is coming out of here. You're compressing the air and it's got nowhere to go. That's because that conical seal is so good. And so it's actually just pushing the piston back up. So that is a good sign, a quick test you can do in a pen to see just how good is this cap seal. In this case, it's extremely good. So here's how the filling system works. You have a rod that's down in here, and you have your little mechanism that engages into this little coupling here that's in the back. So you just unscrew it like you would a normal pen or even piston filler pen, and then it latches into here. If we can get you some focus, there we go. So that's what the latch type mechanism looks like. It just connects into there. So it goes in, and then you're going to keep in that same unscrewing direction. Man, I got to change the focus every 2 seconds because it just moves around. But there we go. So now you turn that, now this piston is free. You drive out the air, put it into your ink bottle, and draw it back, and you're good to go. We'll do a full measurement on the ink volume, and then you're just simply going to twist it back into place, and you're all good to go. Now, I did have a bit of an incident off camera. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. I hadn't filled the pen for a little bit. Since I first got it, I played with the mechanism, but then I filled it up with that ink, that Desert Rose. It's very dark, fully coats and wets everything. So I actually couldn't see the components, and I couldn't quite remember everything. So I was fiddling around with it, and I thought I had the piston engaged, and I couldn't remember if, which way I was going or if it was fully undone, all those kind of things. And so I don't know if the piston was a little stuck or I was pressing a bit, and then finally it came undone. And I was just messing around, and then all of a sudden, whoop, all the ink just kind of squirted out all over my hand and all over the desk here a bit too. So I'll show a picture on the screen. But yeah, once you get accustomed to the filling system, you'll be used to it. But at the start, it just might take you a couple times just to remember how to do it. Another thing I find with there's a lot of stiction. So there's a lot of friction, I guess, between the O-rings and then the wall. I don't think it comes from the threads in here, but you do actually have to turn it with some decent force to get everything rotating in that. So it's, it just takes a little more force to do it, which is a little bit easier to rotate and turn. That's my only sort of comment with it there. But we'll measure the ink capacity here in just a moment. One thing I mentioned I want to do was just quickly tweak the nib just to bring those tines a little bit closer. So I'm going to do that right now. Actually, I'll show you this here too. The whole bottom section does unscrew, but on the website they mention on there, I can't remember exactly, but if that disregards the warranty now, if you're doing that. The thing is, the pen is plenty strong. The challenge is you can't control how tight somebody tightens something out in the field, right? Someone gets a product and go, oh, I know how to tighten something. They just do that, and all of a sudden they crack the body. So that's kind of why they have that there, and a lot of other companies have that, is they don't know, how heavy-handed some people are, and everything has its limits. Like, okay, you're good. That's all you need to do. Some folks just do that little bit more, and that can end up causing a problem. But you can disassemble that if you want to thoroughly clean things. The feed and the nib just come out, so I just pull them out like so. Nothing too crazy, not a ton of force. There's a little close-up look at the feed. Maybe we have some decent lighting, can't quite tell. What I'm gonna do now is just get my little nib block and just bring this in a touch. I use this side to open up the tines. This side will close them down. Also eliminate any canyoning. So I'm just gonna put it in here and just press down a little bit on it. And then I'm gonna check that with the loop and just check that gap really quick. That might be all it needs. Let's get you the weight of the pen, and then we'll measure it before and after I ink it so we know the ink capacity. So just over 47 altogether. I do write with it unposted. So now we're down to 31, which is a really nice weight. So we'll now ink up the pen. So you simply unscrew it. There we go there. It takes a few more turns. I'll show you the Titan pen afterwards. I find that one I like a little bit more. Now we're engaged, and so now we're unscrewing the piston from the main part there, and you're just going to slide the whole assembly down, put it into your ink bottle. Here we have Diamine, I think it's Imperial Blue. Pull it back up, and then you lock it down so everything's screwing in, and there we go. Push the piston rod back down, and you're done, and just give it a quick little wipe. I tared the scale before I inked it, so now we're getting, just over 3 mil. Now you could try to super fill it and get a little bit more out of the pen, but for me, that's good enough. That's how I would just normally fill the pen. I'm just in the process of cleaning out the pen, but I thought on the Titan I would show you similar type of idea, and you just unscrew it straight into there. But I find just the friction is a little bit less here, and the mechanism just is a little bit more intuitive, fewer turns. And so with this one, I sort of just get it right away. It makes a lot more sense just how it works. And I find, it's just a little more straightforward. And there you go. So yeah, I do like the filling system. It's unique. I have a couple pens with this now. There's even just the Pen BBS one. But if I were to pick between the two, I do like the simplicity of the Titan system. I know Ben Walsh, he posts all sorts of cool ideas and designs he has going. I think there is his own version of this filling system, potentially at some point. Don't know when, but I remember seeing something about a new filling system he has, so I'm interested to see what that will look like. I'm going to do a quick writing sample with the Nib Adjustment, and I'll just come back down here and just write the same words just so we can compare the line width. So it's still very wet. It is a different ink, so it's not a straight apples to apples comparison, but I can even just see on the line width, just reduce it a little bit more, a little more in line with a fine. I would say this is kind of teetering on medium a little bit. But again, like I said, we got an ebonite feed, we have a super wet ink, and a nib that was tuned just a little bit wet for my personal preference. But so now this is more where I like it, and we'll be able to use it a little more as a daily carry and just use it more often. I want to leave it how it was when I got it, and then just do the adjustment afterwards to get to, my own personal tastes. That is everything, my friends. I hope I covered absolutely everything you could possibly imagine on the pen. All the pricing and stuff is on the website. Go to the Pen Venture website. Thanks again for them to sending me out the pen to review. At the time of the recording, it's listed for €575. Again, depends on your currency exchange and all that kind of stuff. But for this price, I think it's very comparable to a lot of other premium pens that are out there. There is a ton of detail that went into this. All those little material choices and how things fit together. So yeah, overall, very, very well made pen. I can see there was a lot of work that went into this one, and it performs extremely well. Super durable pen. So good stuff to Gravitas and Kyuseido on the design of this pen and the overall construction, everything on that project they did together. Looking forward to seeing all the new stuff that's coming out. Like I said, check out the Pen Venture website for more details. Click around, like the thumbs up, potentially subscribe, even better, join. All the information will be in the description. I try my best to answer stuff in the comments. Catch you next time.